Welcome to the SharkPreneur podcast with Kevin Harrington and Seth Green. Kevin Harrington is the inventor of the infomercial, one of the original sharks from the hit TV show Shark Tank, and has generated over $5 billion in TV and digital direct response sales. Seth Green is the world's first trusted authority on cutting-edge direct response marketing, a best-selling author, and the only 3-time Marketer of the Year nominee. On the podcast, Kevin and Seth interview sharkpreneurs who share straight talk on what it takes to explode your business.
Do you want to become insanely successful? Do you want to be the go-to guru in your industry? Do you want to be talked about for all the right reasons? For over 40 years, Kevin Harrington has helped people just like you become significant influencers. Now he's broken the process down in the Key Person of Influence roadmap, and it's yours for free. Just text KPI to him at 727-888-2100. Text KPI to 727-888-2100 right now and claim your free step-by-step guide. Text KPI to 727-888-2100 to get the recognition you deserve and experience the success as the go-to voice everyone listens to in your industry.
Welcome to the SharkPreneur podcast. This is your co-host, Seth Green. I have the good fortune to be joined by Dr. Nima Rahmany. He is both a chiropractor and an educator, specializing in helping individuals and professionals like us get to the root cause of our physical and emotional challenges, going from stressed, depressed, and anxious to living powerfully aligned and on purpose. Dr. Rahmany, thanks so much for joining us.
It's great to be here. I'm really glad to finally meet you and to be in your space.
All right, likewise. Let's go back in time a little bit. You started out as a chiropractor. I found that most folks in the helping professions have some inspiring story of why they got into that profession. How did you become a chiropractor?
Well, I was 13 years old, suffering with headaches, and tried all of the traditional routes. And I found that the first moment that I got up off the table after my first chiropractic adjustment, I was like, how the hell did he just do that? I want to learn how to do what he just did to me. If you've ever had a chiropractic adjustment and you felt that literal instantaneous shift, I was like, what just happened? So from 13 on, I became obsessed with learning, the ins and outs of the nervous system and how to kind of work with the nervous system to bring about health and transformation.
Okay. And you then became a chiropractor yourself and built a successful practice in Maple Ridge, British Columbia. Talk a little bit about that journey.
Just outside of Vancouver is a tiny little town called Maple Ridge, British Columbia. And it was the place that I decided to hang my shingle soon after I graduated. And I slowly, in this tiny town, built my practice up to become one of the largest in the region. And soon after, I discovered, while I was there, discovered that everybody was coming in with the same problems. If what drives you to go to the doctor is usually, if you go upstream, it's usually a stress-related problem. And if you go upstream from the stress-related problem, it's usually a relationship issue, whether it's work relationship, whether it's romantic partnership, family dynamics. The breakdowns of our relationships are the root cause of our stress. And if you keep going upstream from that, I discovered it's really the context of who I am in this universe, what my purpose is. A disconnection from self creates disconnection from our work, our careers, and our relationships. So going downstream, it was kind of like as my practice developed over 15 years, I just kept going upstream, and now I address the upstream problems.
Okay, so what do you think it was? What are some of the, for our entrepreneurs listening, what are some of the secrets that made you, because obviously you weren't the only chiropractor in the area, what were some of the secrets behind you making that professional practice so successful?
The secrets behind for me was getting in front of as many people as possible. The thing that entrepreneurs really have to keep in mind is the fear that we have of putting ourselves out there can be overridden by having a cause or a purpose that's greater than us. So the imposter syndrome that we feel about putting ourselves out there can only be overridden by a deep why that's greater than my receiving your approval. And that's the secret. You have to put yourself out there. In order to put yourself out there, you got to get over your imposter syndrome story and make it about the people. That was my secret.
Okay. And then what inspired you to sell the practice in 2016?
Well, you have to rewind to about 6 or 8 years prior to that, when walks in a woman who could hardly walk. And she was on medications for pain, but also had a long list of other stuff, stress-related problems, depression, anxiety, digestive problems. She had the whole gamut. And she was one of those people with a kind of a story of suffering, a stress trauma story of suffering. And so I knew that, but I just was I knew all of that she was dealing with, but I was just dealing with her spine problems. And after 3 months, she was doing like better than she had in years. She wasn't walking with a cane anymore. She was doing great. And then she no-shows for an appointment one day. We call her and we say, "Hey, Gwen, where are you?" Her husband answered the phone and said, "Gwen died of a heart attack this morning."
Oh my God.
And at that moment, it was a wake-up call for me, as like, I didn't talk about the other aspects of why she came in. And so it's time for me to start creating these little workshops. So soon after that, and that was about 10, 11 years ago, I created these 3-hour workshops on Saturday mornings called Life Skills for a Stressful World, inspired by Gwen and her story, and how it's important to get people really understanding why they got in there in the first place. And I found that I enjoyed that part of it a lot more than I did coming to the office on Monday morning and seeing patients. And so I just kept working through that imposter syndrome to give myself permission to do that exclusively. And that 3-hour Saturday morning event has now turned into a 3-day weekend retreat that I do all over the world, that I help people clear their past trauma, rewrite the stories, not just cognitively, but actually somatically in the body as well. That's the one missing link that I had added into my methodologies over the last 3 to 5 years, was incorporating the removal and the processing and integrating of the trauma that's in the body, not just the cognitive. And so that's pretty much the transition. And that was a 10-year process. And so in 2016, I threw my hat over the fence, did the scariest thing ever, crapped my pants and said, "I'm selling my practice," and jumped. And it's been a massive learning curve ever since.
All right. Well, congratulations. That's an incredible story. If it isn't, it should be in a book somewhere. So you've since created what you call the overview method. Talk a little bit about what that is, and how our entrepreneurial audience that's listening and watching can benefit from it.
Yeah. Well, I have this picture behind me. Can you see that, Seth?
Yes.
What is it?
A picture of the moon?
Yeah. Picture of the Earth from the moon.
Yes.
From the moon. That's the picture called Earthrise. It's the first ever photograph ever taken of the planet Earth. It was Christmas Day, I believe, in 1959. I'm not sure, or 69, excuse me, 1969. Don't quote me on it. I could be wrong, or I'm not sure. I think it was
Close
59.
enough. We got the idea.
And and what happened was, the collective humanity was able to see the Earth from a completely different perspective. It wasn't really an us versus them, it's an us. And the feeling, that cognitive shift that astronauts would feel when they would come back to planet Earth, is called the overview effect. And so I thought that I was very inspired by that. And I thought, if people are coming in with stress-related problems, I created a self-inquiry tool that gets you to challenge the assumptions and the meanings that you're making about some of the traumas and the stories of your life, not just cognitively, but it actually involves different modalities of tools in the body, embodiment work, younger self, inner child work, principles of duality, and universal laws. And I pretty much integrated all of them together into one kind of overview modality to heal past trauma. And that's why I call it the overview method.
Okay. So for our folks, you talked about the imposter syndrome. So for our folks listening, what are some of the biggest issues people come to you with through this retreat or through the overview method that this is able to help them with?
Yeah, good question. For entrepreneurs, it's usually that feeling of stuckness where they have, imposter syndrome. They don't feel a connection to themselves. Therefore, there's no real connection to purpose. And when that's happening, then you start living in this paralyzing scarcity mentality. You start feeling like you're not really connected to a cause, so you don't really have power speaking out, and this feeling of limbo and stuckness in your business where you don't feel on purpose, you don't feel on fire. That's one of the manifestations of this of them, one of the symptoms. The other symptoms that you're going to show up with is a disconnection from your relationships. There's kind of like this mask that you put on where you are trying to pretend to be somebody that you're really not. You don't have a sense of authenticity. You don't feel connected and authentic in your relationships. You're constantly afraid of what what other people think of you, and you have past hurts from previous seasons in your work, previous seasons of relationships that you're still stuck on last season or 5 seasons ago, and you're carrying it with you. And at that stage, what's happened is you've now started to feel the impact on your health. Your anxiety levels are through the roof. You're not able to be present. Your anxiety levels are high. Your breathing is not proper, and then your digestion starts to go off. And if you haven't got it in time, you start to develop signs and symptoms into your body. So relationship and career limbo, all caused by a disconnection from self, healing from the past, and disconnection from purpose. It all shows up in these myriad of ways.
Okay, so you talked about Gwen at the beginning as part of your inspiration for this. Without sharing patient names, you can call them Mr. and Mrs. Jones. Can you talk about an example of a recent transformation of someone who, what issue they presented with when they attended one of these or started the overview method, and where they kind of got to?
Yeah, interestingly enough, about 8 years ago, this woman, her name's Kyla, she'll share it. She was a guest on my Trigger Proof show. She shows up in my office and with neck pain. And after her second or third session, I told her, I said, I think that we're not getting really great results here. And I can see from the look in your face, there's some stuff going on in your life. Like, what's going on? I'm going to invite you to come to my workshop on Saturday. I never saw her again. She decided she's not coming back to see me. And I didn't notice. Patients come and go. It's not a big deal. 8 years later, January 2018, here I am. I'm speaking to a group of entrepreneurs in downtown Vancouver, and she's in the audience. And she walks up to me and says, after my talk about everything that I'm talking about, healing past trauma, she walks up to me. She goes, "You don't remember me, do you?" And I said, "No." And she said, "Well, I used to come see you for chiropractic, but I stopped seeing you after my third session." And then in my mind, I was like, "Uh-oh, what did I do?" Oops, what the hell did I do? And she said, "Well, I came for my neck pain, but you kept trying to get into my head and go deeper, and I wasn't having any of it. And now I realize after listening to you, I wasn't ready to face the truth. I'm ready to face the truth now." So she started working with us, and the way things showed up was all a hodgepodge. You're going to look first at your health. Obviously, your health is not right, but don't stop there. Don't let the doctors tell you it's this disorder that needs this drug. Look further around your relationships and breakdowns and the stories and the traumas, and that's going to give you the clue to where you go. And for her, it was showing up as anxiety that she was taking medication for 25 years, digestive problems and diverticulitis flare-ups literally at least every 2 or 3 weeks, just painful in her digestion, anxiety, like I said, and how it was showing up was constant disconnection from her partner. There was no intimacy. They hadn't really been together for 9 months. She didn't feel safe, even though he was a lovely guy. It was a divorce. She has all sorts of past traumas. So we jumped in and we literally cleared each and every one and showed her how to drop her defenses and heal that younger self that was trying to protect herself by keeping love at a distance. And lo and behold, as she worked on all of those things and learned the skills to regulate her nervous system and transform her relationship, guess what happened to her anxiety and her health issues? Gone. By not, and I, as her doctor, I never saw her as a like physically. She never came and saw me for this. It was throughout her, few months of us working together in our online group trainings and one-on-one. And she was off all of her medication. Her relationship completely transformed, and she's anxiety free.
That is absolutely incredible. I'd ask you why you like what you do, but it's kind of obvious.
Why do you like what I can't, I literally, Seth, I can't see myself. I would rather die than to do something other than what I'm doing right now.
Well, very few people in our society right now can say that. So that's an absolutely beautiful thing. You're obviously doing the work that you were meant to do. How are people finding you?
Facebook, Instagram at Dr. Nima, or on my website. There's a way that you can watch a free virtual workshop training that I have. I think you'll have it in the show notes, drnima.com. And I have a YouTube channel that it's all on there. You can watch all of my content, join my trigger-proof Facebook group where I teach you how to regulate your nervous system. It's all free content. I have a show. I just really want to, I stand for healed families and to break the cycle of intergenerational trauma. And the only way that it can happen is at a nervous system level. And I've spent my entire career and my life everything that I've ever learned and experienced has led me to this moment of what I'm doing now, especially in all of this coronavirus stuff going on. At the recording of this podcast, the world is in distress and mayhem, and your true self starts to show. So I wanted to teach people that your number one purpose right now is to regulate your nervous system so you can be a leader, because the people that need you the most, your children, are literally looking up at you and sensing the tone of your nervous system to gauge their own safety in the world. And that's a huge responsibility. And so I want to work with people who want to take that on and be the cause of breaking the cycle, rather than playing victim and expecting Donald Trump or Q or whoever else to save them. I love working with those inspired leaders that are taking it on.
That is absolutely incredible. We know your time's incredibly valuable. We greatly appreciate you spending some of it here. For everybody watching or listening, please go check out Dr. Nima, drnima.com. Take advantage of all those resources he talked about. Dr. Nima, thank you so much for joining us.
It was a pleasure.
Do you need money to fund your idea, product, or service? Are you ready to take your business to the next level, but need capital to get it done? Kevin Harrington has heard more than 50,000 pitches and knows how to help you make the perfect pitch to get the funding for your entrepreneurial dream. He's distilled the process down in his perfect pitch cheat sheet, and it's yours for free. Just text PITCH to him right now at 727-888-2100. Text PITCH to 727-888-2100 right now and claim your free perfect pitch cheat sheet. Text PITCH to 727-888-2100 to start funding your dream today.
This show has been produced by Market Domination, LLC. To discover how you can have your own show completely done for you and turn it into a real published book and become the authority in your marketplace, go to www.marketdominationllc.com/podcast offer.